Among the hundreds of thousands of people affected by the shutdown, its impact is especially felt by Native American communities, which rely on diminishing federal funds for access to health care and other services. Joining us now, member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Republican Congressman Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma. He's a member of the Cherokee Nation, which represents 19 Native American tribes in his district. Thank you very much for on the show this morning. I'd like to hear a lot about the impact on the Native American community. I understand you're especially concerned, with good reason. But can I start by asking if you are so concerned about the impact, why aren't we voting to end the shutdown?
Well, I think it takes two sides. Look, right now there's a lot of federal workers and Native Americans that are held political hostage because we're at an impasse. I don't think the president is asking Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to do anything that they haven't done, and that's to vote on border security. And so we're running a national risk, but we're doing it at the sole cost of people that are innocent in this fight.
Right, but and these are people that you're especially concerned about. The impasse is over this billion-dollar funding for a border wall.
Well,
isn't there a way to put that decision off? Isn't there a way to put that decision off, perhaps, and vote to reopen the government, which is something that I would think that you would want?
Well, we have. For 2 years, we've been saying we're going to get this done for the president, but we're at such an impasse now with the national security risk we're running on the border. The president is just saying, hey, do this again. They voted on it in 2006 with the Secure Fence Act. That was for $52 billion. This right here, we're asking for $5.7 billion. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer both voted for that. And in 2013, they did it again. So the only reason why we're here is because of a political promise, and they see it as a political gain for the president. Nancy and Chuck both go to the same meetings that we go to, and they both know it's a national security risk we have on our southern border. So we shouldn't even be in this fight if people would do that.
Right. We might agree to disagree on whether the wall actually does that, but let me ask you about a decision clearly you have to make politically. What's more important to you, the wall or the impact of the shutdown on Native Americans in your district?
Well, the most important thing is security risk, and we know that there's a national security risk on the southern border.
So the wall is more important at this point than ending the shutdown and the impact it has on your constituents.
When we have the amount of drugs, when we have right now 300 people a week being killed by accidental overdoses because of the drugs flowing in from our southern border, and we have all the criminal activity that's happening on our southern border, when we have a humanitarian crisis coming across our southern border, yes, that is a huge concern. But Native Americans shouldn't be in this fight, and the reason why they shouldn't, because it's a federal obligation based on a trust, and the trust was because the United States forcefully moved Native Americans from their traditional lands years ago and said, if you go from where you're traditionally at to someplace other, like my family got moved to Oklahoma, then in return we're going to take care of your health care. And this shouldn't be a fight. This shouldn't be caught up in this fight.
Right. I'm just curious. Are you telling your constituents that the wall will stop the drugs from coming in the ports of entry? Are you telling your constituents that a wall is going to solve these problems? Is that what you are telling them?
It's not just the wall, it's border security too. Part of the $5.7 billion, $805 million of it is to help scan vehicles coming across our port of entries. Right now, only 20% of the vehicles get scanned coming into the United States, yet we've caught 1.7 million pounds of narcotics. With $850 million, we can inspect 100% of the vehicles as they flow in. Can you imagine the amount of drugs we can stop? I mean, what is one life?
Why don't you guys agree on that amount of money and put off the decision on the wall, since that's holding up the government? It's shutting it down, and your constituents are hurting. This is on you. You have to decide what you want at this point.
I agree with that, but people want to argue about the wall doesn't work. Well, look at what's happened in San Diego and El Paso. Since we built the wall in the 90s, we've seen over a 90% downturn on illegal crossing. So a wall does work. Personally have a fence around our property to keep people out. I have no problem with having security for my family, and all we're saying is let's have security for the entire country.
So that $4+ billion for that wall, you say to your constituents, will keep the drugs from coming in this country?
I'm going to say we're going to cut it down. We're going to cut. Look, if we cut the drug flow into the United States down by half, right now you're more likely to be killed by a drug overdose than by a car accident. That's the first time in U.S. history. We have a drug epidemic taking place inside the United States, and Native Americans are hit unproportionately high by that. If you look at the ratio of race, Native Americans are hit the highest. So not only do we have IHS, but we have a horrible problem with narcotics. When you have 90% of the heroin now coming inside the United States is coming through our southern border, yeah, there's a huge issue. And 3 out of 4 opioid addicted individuals say they started because of the opioids and now they've switched to heroin.
So tell me about your constituents, especially Native Americans who are being impacted by the shutdown. Exactly how? And do these constituents believe that a wall would stop everything that you just laid out there, the drugs coming in and the crime coming into the country? Is that the equation that they are making? Do they believe you?
You know, when I sit down and I talk to them, which I'll be talking to them again tomorrow, I talk to them all the time when they call into my office, I explain it. They get it. Mm-hmm. They sit there and go, we understand it. It just is really horrible, the position that I find myself in. And I apologize to them. I say, look, I'm sorry you're being held political hostage, but this is a bigger picture. People sometimes ask me if it's worth it. I think it depends on your perspective. If you're one of the individuals that's lost a loved one because of some illegal activity or a drug overdose, or someone that got hit in a head-on collision, or they were killed by a violent crime from an illegal crossing, I think they would say, yes, every life matters. If you're one of the 800,000 employees that's furloughed, you're going to find a mixed bag of information there. But a lot of them that I talk to, they understand the fight. They just don't like it.
All right, Congressman Markwayne Mullin, thank you very much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you.